Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today we're talking revenge. This is the fourth part in the series. We are going to get into the Harry of it all in this one. Tom Bower really goes into Harry, and I just love him so much. He's so great at the way he writes, and he does not beat around the bush, and I'm here for it. Just like you guys in the comments. I love your comments so much. Keep them coming. You know, I read them all. I try to respond to as many as I can, but I just love them. You guys crack me up. I'm still laughing over Hank and Skank. That is like the greatest name for these two. Huge thank you to everybody that turned out to our live chat. We had so much fun. If you missed it, don't worry. We will do another one soon. I promise. We really will. I don't have a date yet, but as soon as I get one, I will announce it to you all. Thank you so much. You guys crack me up. Go back and watch it if you want to kind of see what we talked about. Last things I promised, then we're going to get into this book. Don't forget the merch. It's still available. teespring.com. You just search Real Housewives Recaps. I try to put the link in the comments, so check there. If you have trouble finding it, let me know. Also, I have a second channel up. I'm not doing much with it at the moment, but I really want to make it into something. It's RHR. Again, I'll put the link in the comments so you can click right on it. Just hit the subscribe button. You never know with YouTube. They're squirrely. If this one ever had trouble, this channel ever went away or had trouble, I don't know. You can always find me there. So check that out. All right, let's get into revenge. Okay, let's get into the Harry of it all, which is a really funny sentence. This part of the book gets into Harry and his unhappiness. Boy, do we know that from that book we just read, Spare, right? It goes into how Diana relates to his unhappiness, and it's interesting because he doesn't sugarcoat things the way I see some people, meaning he goes into how Diana also led to his unhappiness, and I don't mean what happened to Diana, well, that is part of it, but what he means, I think, is more about, it was a tough time, of course, with Diana and Charles, and it was a rough upbringing just in terms of they were each having extramarital situations go on, and she was giving interviews, and Tom goes into how neither parent really thought about how talking so openly would hurt the kid. I just personally don't like to give Harry any passes on this. You know what I mean? Like, he hung so hard on the Diana stuff in his book, and I while I can understand that would make for a terrible childhood, it's time to grow up, little boy. It's time to strap on your big boy pants, because here we are. Tom Bower calls Harry profoundly unhappy and goes into basically how stupid Harry was. He calls him unsuited for university and that he needed a career. And this is how he came about to join the army. So let's listen to Tom explain Harry in the Club Bougie, which, again, hello, I love Ladies of London, and Marissa's husband, Matt Hermer, owned that Club Bougie. So Tom Bower talks about Harry's penchant for liking to late night party, and that often he would leave the club, I'm sorry in advance, covered in vomit, because he would be so drunk he would wrestle with his friends and end up with vomit on his shirt. Was it his own? Was it somebody else's? I don't know. I'm disgusted. Anybody jealous of Meghan? No, me neither. Ew. Tom goes on to say that Harry needed a girlfriend that was willing to act like his mother, and I find that so funny and so telling. Tom should play the lottery, right? He knew this. He knew this before this Spare came out. And he knew this, like, that Meghan Markle would end up serving this role. Ew. Isn't that just disturbing on so many levels? Love Tom. In describing Harry, he calls him childish, simple-minded, badly educated. Sounds like the Harry we've come to know, right? Self-pitying to that list. So then we go into the military part, and again, coming fresh on the heels of the controversy that writing about his time in the military caused from Spare. I find this very interesting. Tom clearly says that the military would not have accepted Harry had he not been who he was, because he wasn't bright, he didn't have good enough scores, and he literally, the quote was, he couldn't understand the complications associated with everything going on. Tom then goes into how Chelsea ended things with Harry because she was a nice, very normal girl who just didn't want all the restrictions that came with marrying into the royal family. So let's take a listen to Tom's description of Harry here, because I love this. And again, it goes with what we've just read in the book Spare. The best part of this book, or this part of the book, is that they said Harry feared photographers, demanded protection. I wouldn't say that he feared photographers anymore, because we've seen where he's taken all these publicity shots, but he's still demanding protection. He just doesn't want to pay for it. Another interesting thing that Tom Bower is talking about is that Harry is very short-tempered. So then Tom Bower goes into the Invictus Games and how working with that helped Harry grow his popularity, and it gave him purpose. Harry became more charming by doing this and appeared to have grown up a little bit. Obviously, we know the truth behind the scenes, but Tom does talk about that the Queen has remained the most popular of the royals, and at that point in time, Harry was number 2. Led me down a rabbit hole. I found this most recent poll. It was Q4 2022 of ranking of popularity. So we see, of course, our Queen is number 1, Catherine, Princess of Wales, number 2, William, Prince of Wales, number 3, Princess Anne is number 4, and it's cut off on the screen, but King Charles is number 5. But don't you worry, guys, that horrible pouty monster, the crayon eater, Hank and Skank. Hank is going to turn into an awful person, just like his wife. This is the Sunday Times royal correspondent meeting with Harry and her take on, well, him. Says that the charming prince she met years ago was gone and that he'd become sulky and not the person she knew. Saying it, but again, I have to say, man, this rings true. Saying at the time was that he loved his grandmother and he'd take on anything she wanted to assign to him. Really, Harold? How'd that work out for you? You take on anything that she wants you to? How about when she asked you to come say goodbye to her and you, Hank and Skank, said no? And then she goes on to mention his melancholia. Reading that as spoiled brat nature. So the royal spoiled brat goes on to say that his dream is to find a wife, but that his opportunities are stymied because it's so hard to go out and meet people. I can't make this stuff up. He's the worst. So as many of you know, I live with a royal expert, and he has some advice for Hank and Skank. Hank, what's your advice for Hank?
I say just buy a hooker. It worked for me. Why rent when you can buy?
Aw, Jay, why are you using such romantic talk? It's not our anniversary. Goes into Harry's switch of thinking, I don't want this job and I don't want to be here. Doesn't he sound like a petulant child? I don't want this. I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. But I still want people to pay for my stuff, like my security. He talks about looking for his escape. Oh, don't worry about that, my boy. You will do that, but you will try to take down the royal family and it will backfire spectacularly. Okay, so from here, he ends up meeting up with Nutmeg. Hank meets Skank. It's never not funny to me. Okay, so Hank and Skank meet up and is excited because she gets to dust off her trips to Rwanda. That was something that they talk about. She did these things and don't think it was for the nature that it pretends like it was for, more for the photographs, it sounds like. So what's funny here is somebody pointed out in the comments, it's not always about what Tom Bower says, it's about what he's not saying. And what he's said about Meghan is she used philanthropy to get press for herself. What he's not saying about Harry, but also kind of saying, in my opinion, is that he took on some of his mother's causes more for attention than in them actually being dear to him. And so these two get along famously. According to the book, if they clicked like she had hoped, then then she would be able to have global celebrity. I think the word I would use to describe it is notoriety. He uses her endless research about him to know the right things to say and the right ways to comfort him. So as Tom points out earlier, she's taken on the role of his mother. Ew. After this, he started telling people she was the one. That's because Harry doesn't know any bigger numbers than that. So the date went well, and she ends up telling that Gina Nelthorpe, I never say her name right, Gina. She tells Gina, that publicist lady, about it. And turns out, this is the part that that it's like I knew it, but I forgot. So they're doing well. I believe they went out one more time, but then Harry, they went out again at the Soho House again. And then after that, Harry decides to fly to Toronto. But guess what? Old Megxit is still dating Corey. But according to the book, she saw it as an overcomable obstacle. Damn. So don't let a live-in boyfriend stop you from seeing the prince. It'll all work out. It always does, right? Here the book goes into how she knew exactly how to make Harry feel loved and appreciated because she knew all the details about him. That's a really polite way of saying she's calculated as hell. She knew what she was doing. Obviously, she had done a lot of homework, obviously. And yet, remember, guys, she tried to tell us she never Googled him. Yeah, right. She, according to the book, would look at him with intense affection and trust. All I can think of is intense infection. Even there, it's like describing the relationship a mother would have with her toddler. You look at them with intense infection and make them feel safe and secure. It's like Hazmat had some pretty big insecurities, so she knew how to handle that. Turned on Paw Patrol for him and left him some goldfish crackers and some juice. Exactly the right things to say. She's very calculated. Again, this aligns with the Meghan we know now. So, again, I love Tom Bower. Read between the lines here. She had to make the crown-eating, unmotivated, whatever, feel special. And Maggie Poo knew exactly how to do that. So from here, they go into their plan. Remember their own rules they set for each other that they wouldn't go more than like 2 weeks apart. So they started to fly back and forth. Meghan was supposed to keep silent, but of course we know she could not keep silent. Her dad received phone calls from Meghan saying, basically that she was dating somebody, and then eventually she told him who it was. During this time, she broke up with Corey. He ended up moving out mid-July. Meghan kept the house and took out all evidence of Corey. So that way, Prince Dum Dum had no idea that Hank and Skank got together, not knowing that Skank also had somebody else that she was seeing. She was working her way up the ladder, you guys. So this is when she did that interview about, you've probably seen it, where she doesn't know English things like apples and pears mean stairs. Meghan ends up telling that, I never say her name right, is it Nelthrop, that she was invited to Botswana with Harry. Remember, that was his go-to move. We find out in the book that this is the fourth woman he has done this with, invite them to Botswana. So there's a funny line here where it says Harry was within her web. Yes, I did not plan this. I think this picture perfectly goes with the words that are being said right now, being in her web. Again, Meghan and being so calculated, she knew that even being with him a short time, but getting it out in public was good for her. It would gain her the celebrity status she's been chasing the whole time. Yeah, too bad Hazmat didn't pick up on that. So they went to Botswana. Sounds like things went really well for both of them. They ended up planning another trip soon after. And this is, again, where Tom mentions it's the fourth girlfriend that Harry has taken to Botswana. I hope Meghan hears that and gets really pissed at him about it. They go back and she calls a meeting with Gina, that Nelthorpe, I never say her name, you know who I'm talking about, Gina, and says that she knew that she and Harry would be together forever. Skank decided Hank was going to be it for her and put her claws in him. But I'm not saying he's innocent in this whole thing. He's just too dumb to realize what was going on. So then that Nelthorpe lady tries to tell her, hey, before you dive into this thing, just think about what marrying into the royal family means. Basically, this would change everything for you. You wouldn't have the same privacy, etc. But Meghan didn't want to hear any negativity and just smiled. Funny now, though, that she pretends like she didn't know what she was marrying into and unfamiliar with traditions and customs. And how about I mean, I've had so many reactions to when she pretended not to know to let the Queen go first in the car. And it couldn't be her fault because she wasn't told. Also, I want to point out that, again, contradicting herself, remember the interview she gave when they got engaged? And she says that she doesn't see it as giving up anything. She sees it as a big change. Okay, so after this, Meghan was asked to speak in front of 1,300 at this One Young World Summit. Now, I say it kindly. Actually, what happened is she got that Nelthorpe person to set up the speaking engagement. And she introduced herself as a UN women's advocate. Remember that she left that position, we found out earlier. Meghan just wanted this publicity. She hounded people for photographs and wanted to get the celebrity the photographs with the celebrities, as I was saying, and she ended up getting that Nelthorpe lady to set up an interview with Vanity Fair, and they were marking her for exceptional young leader. Gag me with a spoon. The priority to Meghan was not the speech that she was supposed to give. It was about making sure she got photographs with the right celebrities. I love where her priorities are. That's perfect. That sums it up right there. Okay, so she's waiting to go give this speech, and take a listen to her attitude and behavior leading up to it. There was a young female reporter there that asked her just a benign, simple question, and Meghan snapped at her and said, "Talk to my agent." My first thought is she couldn't answer the question. She was confused by the question, so instead of dealing with it, she just got mad. Favorite lines from this part of the book says she was only a feminist when it suited her. Isn't that nice? So sweet, huh? She's all for women empowerment, but don't ask her any questions. I mean, I'm actually surprised. I'm not surprised at the behavior. I'm surprised that she would snap like that at a journalist that could, obviously recount the story. So she's ridiculous. She's all about herself, clearly. And who cares who she steps on along the way, right? God, I love this book so much. All right, guys, I'm going to end this here. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to get into the next part of the book and keep on with these juicy stories. And I can't wait to read your comments as soon as these videos go up. That's my favorite part. I jump in, I try to read and respond to as many comments as I can. I read them all, but I try to respond to as many as I can. And it's just so much fun. You guys have the best observations. I thank you for that. What else? I'll announce the live chat when we have the next one. Check out my merch. It's on teespring.com. You search up Real Housewives Recaps. And then, hit subscribe on that other channel I told you about. You'll find it on my main page. You'll see my other channel. Just hit subscribe. That really does help. All right. Thanks for being here. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.